We don't know what your beliefs are on Santa Claus, folks, but this is what I'll say is the closest thing I've ever seen to Mrs. Claus is my mother-in-law. Yesterday, she sent us a list of about 12 different cheese balls and asked us for our top three that she's going to make. She is a woman after my own heart, and her cherry pie, oh my goodness, it's going to be in heaven. But anyways, good morning, Doris. Good morning, Connie. Morning, Bethany. Morning, Charles. Oh, so good to be with you, friends. So good to spend some time together. I have hopefully a slightly sad but overall happy announcement. One, tomorrow will be our last prayer time together until 2021. The reason for that being, one, I'm going out of town, and I absolutely have loved this. I think it's been just a lifeline for me this year in 2020, but I think it's also just a great opportunity for us, and this is what I want to encourage you to do as well, is to spend a little bit of time just reflecting over the next 7 days. I know there's a lot going on, a lot of hustle and bustle, and there's gifts to open and then gifts to return or gifts to regift. Don't talk about that. But, there's a lot of family time that's spent. There's a lot of maybe taking down decorations, a lot of movement that takes place over the next few weeks. But I want to encourage you to maybe, as we've talked about stillness and solitude, to take some time and just reflect. What is one big lesson maybe that you would take away from this year? What is also one hope or thought that you have going to the next year? And here's what I think is a little bit different for us as Christians, is it's not just New Year's resolutions that we make, and it's not just goals that we set, because we all know that by February we're probably going to abandon all those things. And maybe that's even the beauty of 2020, is we haven't had the ability to project far out, and so we've kind of had to live in the present moment. But I think it starts with Psalm 139, which I was reading over this morning, and famous psalm, famous verses as you read throughout it. But when you read it in its entirety, basically David is saying, God, you know me. You know my thoughts before I speak them. Where can I go? Where can I hide from your presence? That there's the famous verse that we all know well that talks about that we've been knit together in our mother's womb, that God has made us uniquely and specifically. And so David spends all this time praising God for his knowledge of who he is, saying, God, you know me better than anyone, that you know the thoughts, you know the words before I speak them. But then he ends with this. He says, search me and know me. Try me and know my thoughts. And then he says, if there be any wicked way in me, if there be anything grievous, please reveal that to me. It's actually what David is saying is, God, you know me better than I know myself. You might know my thoughts better than I know myself. I don't know if you've ever had this thought where you've kind of looked at yourself and gone, what was I thinking? Why did I do that? Why have I behaved in that way? Why did I think those thoughts? Why can't I get out of these thought patterns? And so it's actually David taking solitude, taking time for inner reflection, taking time for contemplation, and going, okay, what is going on inside my heart? What have I learned? And I think we're prone just to keep moving on. And I just want to challenge you, as I challenge myself. Lynn is a great reminder of this, of that rest isn't just something of vacation. It's not just 13 hours of video games and football games and binge watching and all kinds of things like that. That rest is actually this point where we bring our inner self into the presence of God, that we become whole mentally, spiritually, physically. And so challenging you to do that. And the other thing is as we look to 2021, we're going to be posting on our Facebook page over the next few days just different resources for you to consider. How might I engage God, engage him in maybe daily offices, meaning different times of prayer? How may I engage him with just an outlined reading plan as you kind of dive into the scriptures for yourself and want to begin to walk that journey? This is what I want to tell you. It's day by day. And so reflect, and then think about what is to come next. And so we're going to have our final prayer time for this year tomorrow. Then we're going to gather together. We have almost a full house for Christmas Eve. We're so excited. And then we will celebrate over the next week. And so, God, we confess, God, that this has been a year where we maybe have had to look in the mirror much longer than we wanted to. And I know for me, there's been things that I've seen that I don't like, that I wish weren't there, that I want to cover up, that for all my frustrations with wearing a mask out in public, I think I often wear a mask over my heart, God. And Father, I want to be real. I want to be authentic, but I don't just want to be real and authentic in my brokenness. I want to also find healing in the presence of your Son, Jesus. And so, God, you know me better than I know myself. You know all of us. And so, God, I pray that, like the words of David, that I, one, would confess just your power, your grace, your steadfast love in knitting me together and knowing me and numbering the hairs on my head and numbering the days of my earthly life. But God, I'm confusing even to myself, and it's difficult to ask questions and to actually process. And so, God, I pray that you help me not just to make the time, that you make me make the time over the next week, God. You sit me down, you slow me down. You help me to hear your whisper. Help me to sense your presence. God, help me to come to you in confession and conviction. God, help me also to find peace and encouragement, wholeness with you, union with you. And God, may I come to a more genuine understanding of who you've made me to be, and a more deep and robust and real belief in who you are. So God, we love you. I pray that for all my friends as well. God, thank you. Thank you that we have another day tomorrow to pray together. We love you. And it's in your son's name that I pray. Amen. Love you, friends. Praying for you. Pray for me. Going to be a fun day of wrapping last day of school for those of you who got kiddos in LPS. And so praying for you. All right. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.